Since the games began, the Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission says there have been more requests from bars to open earlier. That number sits at 28 province-wide. Half of those requests came from right here in Calgary. Now, of course, in the days to come, we hope to learn how this fire started. Passengers' personal security at C train stations after dark is a big concern, so much so that you'll now see more peace officers patrolling the stations after 6. Now, Ian, even during a good year, it's a lot of work to get the Stampede off the ground, but this year, with all the flooding in the city, it's going to be quite the challenge. Just 3 days ago, the Stampede grounds were nowhere near ready for Stampede 101. The racetrack underwater, buildings barely above water. But what a difference 3 days can make.
We're going to do whatever it takes to be ready for July 5. We're in the midst of draining and drying all the buildings, removing damaged materials, and replacing and restoring everything we can.
It's a monumental task. The corral and the BMO Centre only had a few inches of water inside. The grandstand about 2.5 feet from one end of the building to the next. But the one they're most concerned with now is the Big 4 building.
It still has water in the basement and we're pumping it out. And once it's pumped out, we'll know more.
The track is also being repaired. Organizers say they aren't straining much needed city resources. They have their own crews on site and they're working non-stop. The greatest outdoor show on earth brings in around $340 million to Calgary's economy. But while organizers forge ahead,
thank you so much during these times because you have friends, you have relatives.
Tourism Calgary is holding a special meeting today to come up with a game plan for the next 2 to 8 weeks. They say of the city's 65 hotels that are open, only 9 have no power.
We have not heard at all of major damage, but too soon to tell. We're here to assess that. We're regrouping the tourism industry with our colleagues at Travel Alberta.
Denis and her tourism colleagues say the Stampede is a boost the city needs right now. And like many, they want the show to go on, come hell or high water. Offers for help have been pouring in everywhere from Edmonton to Toronto to Texas. And organizers say they have volunteers standing by, and in the next couple of days, they're going to need them.
Nadia Stewart spoke with that grieving husband.
And she's live in Pembroke Meadows right now. And Nadia, he is clearly still in shock.
Absolutely. Rahim Visram is very much distraught. He says he doesn't know exactly what happened here at the home on Pembroke Drive on Sunday evening. And to an extent, he says he doesn't really want to know everything that happened. But he does know that his wife was here helping a friend. That friend, Sanjula Devi, is believed to be the estranged wife of the suspect. Now, Rahim Visram says that he did not know the suspect or the suspect's estranged wife. But he says when his wife came over here to help remove, he really didn't think anything of it. He says that his wife, Amita, was often helping her friends. But about 20 minutes after she arrived here at the home on Pembroke Drive, he got a call saying that he needed to get to the hospital. And when he got there, he could not believe what he was seeing. He says even after he had to identify his wife's body, he still thought that this was just a bad dream.
There's no way that you can describe it. I felt at that point, when I sat down and took a deep breath, I said, you know something, my alarm's going to go off and I'm going to wake up. This is the worst nightmare I've ever had. And the alarm hasn't gone off yet.
Now, Rahim describes his wife as a great person. He says that she lived her life very simply and that she was always there to help her friends and family, his family and his wife's family, his late wife's family. They were very close. Now, they were getting ready to celebrate their 2-year wedding anniversary next month, and that is what's making this time just so difficult. Both Rahim and I spoke at length about his wife, Amida, and I'll have more of that interview coming up tonight at 11. The Calgary Roughnecks are 1 win away from the National Lacrosse League's Champions Cup. The Necks beat the Rochester Nighthawks here at home tonight in front of thousands of screaming fans.
The crowd to the feet. The Calgary Roughnecks take Game 1, and they will try to win their 3rd championship in Rochester. Game 1 to Calgary.
1,000 fans were on their feet when the clock ran out tonight. The Roughnecks played a spectacular game, scoring first and getting out to a 7-4 lead by halftime. Curtis Dixon and Scott Ranger each scored twice with single goals from Sean Evans and Mike Carnegie. But it was Calgary forward Dane Doobie who led the team, scoring a hat trick and an assist in the Roughnecks' 10-7 victory. A man is in hospital in serious condition at this hour after a motorcycle accident on Stony Trail. It happened in the southbound lanes at 16th Avenue. It's still unclear exactly what caused the accident, but police say the driver somehow lost control. There were two people on the bike at the time, a male driver and female passenger. Police say the woman was taken to hospital as well, but only as a precaution. The three men who want to be Alberta's next premier met in the same room today for the first time in the Conservative leadership race. The CBC's Silvana Benelich was there.
Nadia Stewart has been digging into this story for us. She joins us live near the site of the derailment. And Nadia, how big is this bill?
Well, Rosa, the Calgary Fire Department's response to this derailment last fall was huge. And at the time, the city made it clear that it would be sending CP an invoice for the cost of that response. Well, now we know that they have done just that, sending CP a bill in excess of $500,000. When these 8 cars came off the tracks at the Aelith CP rail yard last September, it caused significant disruptions, not just for people living in Inglewood, but also for our first responders.
And as we saw with that derailment, it was an extended time period over 2 days that tied up a lot of resources to work with CP and ensure public safety was being managed.
Our taxes generally cover a base level of fire services, but this wasn't your typical emergency. These cars were carrying flammable liquids, and it took crews hours to safely extract the product because the tankers were pressurized. For our city's fire department, that meant rotating crews, multiple engines, hazardous material units. At any given time, there were as many as 6 different units on site. So last month, the Calgary Fire Department sent CP Rail a 6-figure bill. They wouldn't give us an exact amount, only saying it totals more than $500,000.
I would jolly well hope they'd be presented with the bill and richly deserved.
For people living in Inglewood, the derailment could not have come at a worse time. Less than 3 months after the June flood, residents' nerves already rattled. Robertson says what was most frustrating was that they did not immediately know what was in those cars. They want to make sure they won't be faced with such a mystery should there be a future derailment.
To see if we can't repair this situation, put some regulations in place that are going to give the ability and grounding for some better relations and a safer kind of presence in the community by the railway going forward.
Now, Robertson says that the relationship between between the community and CP is not the best right now. We did reach out to Canadian Pacific for a comment. They told us that any discussions between CP and the City of Calgary are between those two parties only. They weren't prepared to comment at this point.
Okay, thanks, Nadia. That's Nadia Stewart live near the CP rail yard in the southeast.
Don't mind University of Calgary student Eric Patterson. He's just taking a selfie. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It's just commonplace, especially with camera phones. Why not take the opportunity every time you're in a bathroom or everywhere? Every time you have the opportunity, why not get yourself out there?
Lane Izzo has also indulged in some shameless selfie promotion, though she has her limits.
It's not like I'm going to go home and plan what I'm going to wear. Some girls do that. They plan what they're going to wear. They do their hair. They're like, okay, I'm going to take my selfie now, post it on Instagram. That's weird. I'm not going to lie. That is just weird.
Weird or indulgent, selfies are all the rage. Their popularity out of this world. Oxford Dictionary says usage of the term has increased 17,000% since this time last year, making selfie its international word of the year. By definition, a selfie is a photo one takes of oneself with a smartphone or webcam that's uploaded to social media. And Oxford says the word has Australian roots.
It's exactly the same process that in the 80s would have just given us, put a shrimp on the Barbie.
It doesn't surprise Doroshenko that the word's earliest known usage was in an Aussie online forum in 2002. He also says without social media, selfies wouldn't be nearly as popular.
Even in the realm of Facebook, we've had people taking pictures of themselves since 06, 07, but this word has only really spiked, I'd probably say, since Twitter and Instagram, Snapchat have come along.
Oxford says in the past, selfie has been spelled with a Y, but the term we've come to know and love is now spelled with an IE. Now, selfie isn't officially in the Oxford English Dictionary, but it could be in the future. Taking a selfie of my own, Nadia Stewart, CBC News, Calgary. Decked out in their jerseys, fans pile into a local bar, waiting for Team Canada to seal the deal. This is the scene playing out across the city when our athletes compete. And in between those memorable moments, Calgary bars get a chance to catch their breath and tally up profits. Since the games began, it's been nothing but big crowds and big business.
There's definitely an influx. Right off from the bat in the morning, you would normally not see the 10, 12 tables in here packed necessarily on a regular morning at 10 a.m. because we're closed. So it really has helped our business.
Since the games began, the Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission says there have been more requests from bars to open earlier. That number sits at 28 province-wide. Half of those requests came from right here in Calgary. The city's bars have gone from virtually vacant to full to the brim. Some managers and owners tell me that earlier start has been bringing in up to 100 more patrons, and they aren't the only ones seeing their business multiply.
Compared to a non-Olympic year, we've seen sales anywhere from 26 to 2,700% increase in things like jerseys, t-shirts, headwear.
Rennick says their expectation for these games weren't as high as in 2010. With the time difference, they didn't expect people to wake up and tune in. Still, they took a risk, banking on Calgarians' love for that good old hockey game.
We probably thought that Olympic jerseys would probably be about 40% of what they were in Vancouver, and we're already up around the 60 to 70% mark.
And with a handful of days left until the closing ceremony, neither Rennick nor Ford foresee any signs of a slowdown. After all, there's still a gold medal on the line. Nadia Stewart, CBC News, Calgary.